Welcome to episode number 5. 5? 6? 5? I think 5? I don't know. Of Ask RGD. If you are new to Ask RGD, the rules of Ask RGD are very, very simple. You ask me a guitar or guitar gear related question, either down in the comments section of one of my videos, via email, via Facebook Messenger, via the contact form on the website. All of those forms of communication are listed down in the description of all of my videos. And I answer your question in the form of a video. But before we get to this week's question, first I would like to give a shout out to Guitar Hack thank you very much for, as of this recording, having me on as your weekly guest on your live stream on your YouTube channel just last night. It was a great time. We talked about all kinds of guitar stuff, and he's got a great viewer base that really enjoy interacting with him. I'll post a link to that video down in the description, but you should all go check it out and check out his channel as well. Really good content, and like I said, great guy, and we had a lot of fun, and hopefully we'll get to do it again one day. Now, the reason why we are all here. This particular question comes from Joe Hervey 84, who's a regular viewer of this channel. And in this particular comment, he says, Rob, what is it with people constantly shortening my name without asking me? It says Robert's Guitar Dungeon on the channel. It says Robert's Guitar Dungeon on every one of my videos. It says Robert on my driver's license. It says Robert on my birth certificate. It says Robert on my social security card. Every time I sign a document, I sign it Robert. Why? Please, somebody help me understand. Why do people insist on shortening my name? Anyway, but back to the topic at hand. He says, Rob, great video. How do you feel about buying guitar gear from eBay, such as Chinese pickups and other gear? Thank you, brother. Joe, thank you very much for the question. eBay has jacked up their selling fees so high. I mean, it's up around, to sell a guitar or something on eBay, by the time you get done paying eBay and PayPal and, anything else that might go along with it, it's upwards, of 10% of, 10% of that sale goes to those folks before you ever see a dime, So it's, and a lot of people in our industry have actually gotten away from eBay, and it's also, and given it the name Evil Bay. With that in mind, I haven't sold on eBay in a long time, even though I do have a couple of things that that are for sale currently, but, to list them on eBay is just, it's just too much, just too big of a hit, So I haven't sold on eBay in a long time. I do buy things on eBay from time to time. Not typically guitar gear, just because you've got there's a lot of foreign entities that I'm not sure are real trustworthy. Sometimes, when buying on eBay. Now, eBay does have great buyer protection. So if something happens, chances are they're gonna take care of it, or take care of the buyer. Should, like I said, should some funny business occur. But to answer your question, with that said, some of the Chinese made parts and stuff like that that are out there, eBay's not generally where I would go for that. There are a couple of things, a couple of suggestions though that I do have for where you can get some pretty good stuff. There's a couple of instances. Now, buying, first of all, I would need to evaluate why I am considering Chinese parts. Obviously, the primary reason why somebody would want to do that would be budget, and that's fine. if maybe it's an inexpensive guitar, you just don't want to put a whole lot of money into it because there's, you're likely not to get it back out, and that certainly makes sense. Maybe it's an inexpensive build, and you're trying to keep the cost down because you're going to sell it. Those are the instances that I would consider inexpensive import parts. If it's something that's going to be a little bit more valuable, something that, that I'm going to be using a lot for my own personal use, I'm going to spend a little bit more money to get some better quality parts and electronics. So just my opinion. But also at the same time, I've kind of also gotten away from building out and modifying out guitars and stuff like that, because I think it devalues the instrument, number one, and number two, it's kind of redundant to buy a guitar. The first thing I got to do is swap out the pickups in it. Again, my opinion. But if you are going to do such a thing, for pickups, if you want to buy inexpensive pickups, I recommend a guitar website called guitarfetish.com, GFS for short. And the GFS pickups, even though they are imports, and you're gonna have to look pretty hard on their website to be able to determine that they're made in China, import guitar pickups. They keep that pretty well hidden, but that's what it is. And I've heard a lot of their pickups, and their lineup, their line is constantly growing. There's a lot of them out that they have now that I have not heard, but some of the ones that have been around for a while, like they have one called the Crunchy Pat, and another one called the VEH, which stands for Vintage Extra Hot. And the VEH moniker obviously is kind of a take on Eddie Van Halen, which is which is kind of the inspiration behind that pickup. It's something that kind of reminiscent of an early Eddie Van Halen pickup, which is why they played with the name, and rather creatively, I might add. But there for a while, I think it was an Epiphone guitar, something that I wanted to change out the pickups in, and I was looking pretty heavily at a Crunchy Pat for the neck and a VEH, a Crunchy Pat for the neck and a VEH for the bridge. And it's one of those things I just never got around to doing it. But and I don't have the guitar anymore either. But if I was looking to outfit a guitar for, with a new set of pickups and not spend a lot of money, that's absolutely where I would go. Even though they do sell import parts, they are, I believe they are actually an American company, so they're being shipped to you from within the United States. All business between you and the website is conducted conducted here in the U.S. So. That personally makes me feel a little better. And Guitar Fetish actually has been around for they've been around for a long, long time. 15, maybe upwards of 20 years now. So, and every time you go to their website, it looks nicer, more and more professional. They keep putting more and more money into it because obviously that's their storefront. And, they've been able to put more money into it over the years because they've grown. As they've grown, the product line has grown, and I find they do produce pretty good products, from their pickups to a lot of their hardware to guitar straps. They've even got a line of guitar pedals that, from what I understand, I've not played them, but from what I understand, actually are pretty decent pedals. Maybe I'll get a hold of a couple of those and demo them on the channel sometime. That's where I'd go for pickups. Now. Another thing that I find myself when I am upgrading parts, probably the second most common thing that I change out are the guitar tuning machines. And again, tuning machines for my own purposes, as a rule, that's not something that I skimp on. I am okay paying $80 or $100 for a set of Grover tulip tuners, or a set of Godos, or a set of locking Spurzels, or something like that. I want good tuners on my guitars. Now I know surely somebody's going to comment on here and ask me about it. A demo that I did where a guitar went out of tune, and and either I didn't catch it until afterwards, or whatever it was. Knock yourself out, have your fun. But believe it or not, most of my guitars actually have pretty high-end tuners on them. So that said, for something that I'm trying to keep the cost down, there is another brand of tuner that you may already be familiar with called Ping tuners, Ping, and they've got a couple of models that I think actually are pretty decent, especially for the price. I think it's called the Precision Tuners. I'll link to those down in the description as well. That you can pick up for about $23 or so on Amazon. They have, if you want gold hardware, it's going to run you about $30. So, like I said, I will link to some of these down in the description. They're not going to perform like like Schaller quality tuners. They're not Grovers, they're not any of that kind of thing, but they will get the job done. Lastly, there are other things that that other people may consider swapping out on a guitar. Things like tunematic bridges and tailpieces, potentiometers, of course, switches. All of those parts actually are relatively the potentiometers anyway, even the good stuff like CTS and Switchcraft, those are really only cost a few dollars. And you can go to Guitar Center's website or Amazon or any number of places and buy those very, very inexpensively. So there is absolutely no way I would ever purchase an inexpensive part like that from China just to save a few bucks. It's worth the extra $5 or $6 to get the real thing. Again, that I know. If it's good enough for the American guitar builders, it ought to be good enough for me. In the instance of, some of the more expensive hardware, like, tunematic bridges and tailpieces, Floyd Rose tremolos, things like that. Those, now those parts there can be fairly expensive. However, there are companies out there, say, Guitar Center's Pro Line brand, for example, or All Parts, that will make very, very good quality versions of those, of those parts that will fit your guitar just fine. They will look like they're supposed to look and cost you about a third of what the tunematic bridge is going to cost. And again, a big, buying from a large, American retailer, as opposed to, another site overseas, another, an unknown seller overseas, be it on eBay or Reverb or whatever it might be, just gives me a little bit more comfort, that, that number one, there's going to be something showing up in my mailbox in a reasonable amount of time. And, number two, that it's not made of such, inexpensive, cheap alloys that are so soft that, they're going to fall apart, anytime, fall apart right away. I personally am not afraid to buy a licensed Floyd Rose or an off-brand locking tremolo system like that. There are diehard Floyd Rose fans and Kahler fans, but Floyd Rose fans in particular, that if it's not an American-made Floyd Rose, they don't want any part of it because it's going to wear out. I have never worn out a tremolo system, locking or otherwise, in my entire life. I don't know what these guys are doing to their tremolo systems. They got to wear them out. They even the blades, where the blades make contact with the bridge screws, I've never worn them out, never once. So, I am not opposed to a licensed Floyd Rose or equivalent. Especially if it's an instance I'm trying to save money. The licensed stuff performs just fine for me and always has. The original licensed Floyd Rose. I have had this guitar. I bought this guitar brand new in the 8th grade. This guitar is a 1991, I believe. It still has the sticker, made in Korea sticker on the back of the headstock, as well as the sticker model number back when, guitar companies, particularly the companies that were making the shred machines, Super Strats, were doing that kind of thing. So, again, I've had this guitar a long time. It's got there's some buckle rash, a little bit of buckle rash there on the back, among other things. You can see the gold has faded quite a bit, you know, just due to age. Licensed Floyd Rose tremolo works just fine. So thank you, Mr. Joe Hervey 84, for submitting your question. I hope I answered it sufficiently. You know, you can submit your questions to me as well. As I mentioned here at the top of the video, all of my contact information is listed down below in the description. If you don't want to post your question publicly down in the comments section, feel free to use one of those other methods. And I will make sure and answer your question anonymously, should I choose your question to make the next episode of Ask RGD. But submit your questions. Seriously, I need some more questions. So send me your questions. So subscribe down below, alert button down below. Links to anything I may have talked about in this video down in the description. Thank you so much for watching, and I will see you in the next video.